Okay, so we should be recording. Looks like we are.
Yep, I see the red dot on the corner, so I think we're good.
Okay, that's what I thought I saw, but I want to make sure. So I'm Michelle Vakinis. I am the proud mom of Colette, who is my angel baby, who watches over us, and Elliot, who is my 8-month-old, who you may, if I'm on mute, you may hear a little bit of it. We're in the slow process to bedtime right now, and luckily I have an amazing husband who is taking care of that for tonight. And we started this organization after our experience with Colette. I was hospitalized at 21 weeks with severe preeclampsia and told I would be there until I delivered. And so very quickly, we went from a 2-income household to a 1-income household, which was extremely scary. And, that was kind of just what we had to deal with. And, we were in a position that we were fortunate that wasn't going to completely decimate us, but we knew this happened to other families. And so I spent a little over 3 weeks in the hospital, and then the doctors recommended delivery. Colette was born via C-section at 24 weeks, 5 days, and spent her first, her only life here, she spent in a NICU incubator. She was in NICU for 9 days. And again, I just saw the financial toll that this takes on families. And that really just spoke to me. And I wanted to do something with it. And after 9 days, we lost her. And, again, you have to plan a funeral for your child, which is something no parent should have to do. And I had never planned anything like that. So it was very overwhelming. It gets expensive. We just handed over our credit cards. And, I've said this before and I'll say it until I can't speak anymore. My sister was my savior. She showed up the next day and she's the one who took us around. And I don't think Colette would have had a memorial without her. And so that really always means a lot to me. And she's a former preemie and NICU resident. So, and so that was really the start. So we provide financial assistance to families in complications related to pregnancy, a NICU stay, or loss. And it's been amazing. We've been in operation for about 2.5 years. And we've helped over 575 families in 39 states and given away over 600,000, which is just crazy beyond belief. And we could do more. So I'm really excited about this piece because of, I think we can all learn, but I think especially, any prep work and things we can do to avoid that sort of financial crisis is always key. So I'm thrilled to introduce Nicole, who has become a dear friend and who I am so excited to hear her do this. I'm going to stop the share and stop my video. But just if you have any questions, we'll have time and we'll delve into some questions at the end. But if you don't really want to, have your name attached to it, we start talking about finances, people get weird. And I totally understand that. You can just message me and I will save the questions and then have those for the end as well. And I'll just say somebody was asking this and that works too. All right. So take it away, Nicole.
Let me here just share my screen. Where is my PowerPoint? There we go. Okay, let me know if you guys can see it here. And then Michelle, I know I have notes here, but I want to make sure they're hidden from everybody else so it's not a distraction. So let me know if you can see notes. Just give me a second here. Oops. Bear with me, guys. Here we go. Can you guys see my notes here? Michelle, can you see my notes? Okay. Oh, yeah. Esmeralda and Jackie say they can see it. Esmeralda, no notes. So are we good on notes? Yes, yes, no. I just don't want it to be a distraction for you guys.
I know we can see the presentation. We just can't see the notes, so you're good.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right, wonderful. And thank you, ladies, for jumping on today. You know, Michelle kind of told her story. I don't know if you guys have heard her story before, but it always leaves my voice a little shaky because like her, I did have preeclampsia with my firstborn. And so I feel for her because I know that our situation could have been very similar. So my heart always goes out to Colette and Michelle. And Michelle is super strong, and I'm just so happy that she has a lovely little boy now, and that, you know, we met, like she said, on LinkedIn, and when she told me what it is that she's doing, I'm very passionate about helping others. So I was like, yes, let me help in whatever which way that I can and bring, you know, what it is that I do professionally to others. So wonderful. So let me just start off. So of course, the 3 financial challenges women face and how to overcome them. And that's what we're really going to be talking about today. So again, my name is Nicole Monet. I'm an FR, which is a financial representative with Northwestern Mutual. What that really means is that I can help you with financial planning and all those tools that you need to really make a solid foundation. Let's start off by talking about goals, right? We all have them, whether it's retiring to a tropical location, saving for a rainy day, buying a home or starting a business, planning for a family. Just take a minute, if you can, just to write down 3 of your financial goals, 1 short term, 1 midterm, and 1 long term. And let's see kind of like where we could kind of bring about, and maybe if we have something that's similar. I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, you wanted us to put those in the chat, right?
No, you can just write it down for yourself, and then I'm just going to ask if anybody wants to share it.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Would anybody like to share their goals?
Yeah, I can share. So I would say a short-term goal for me would be to build like a emergency fund, like a rainy day fund. A mid-term goal would be saving for my wedding. I'm actually getting married in July.
Congrats.
Thank you. And then of course, long-term would be, you know, like retirement and stuff.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's been a fun one. I love planning for people and their you know, their weddings, and I'm always like, let me see your dress, you know. So that's really exciting. And of course, yes, emergency fund is super important, and in the long term retirement as well. Jackie, I don't know if you're going to be able to share or not, if you wanted to share.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, short term is very similar. Rainy day fund is always, sorry if you could hear TV in the background. It's my son.
You're good. I have my little one upstairs too, and Michelle does too. We're all in the same boat. We're good.
The YouTubers are just abound here. Yeah, short term is, yeah, probably the very similar rainy day fund. So, you know, it's never a paycheck to paycheck situation. Midterm would be, you know, hopefully getting college funds started, and long term, of course, as well. I'm on board with retirement. Retiring early would be ideal.
Yeah. Are you one of the people that would like that tropical kind of experience, or you just want to like maybe go to Arizona or something? I know a lot of Chicagoans have been going to Arizona now. What does the retirement look like for you?
Ireland, my motherland.
That's better. That's better than all of those. That sounds awesome. That's wonderful, and thank you so much for sharing, ladies. That's really beautiful, and I love hearing about all those goals. And I mean, because that's the truth. The reason why we work so hard and care about our finances are for these goals that we have, whether it is college planning or retirement or just that rainy day fund, so that we're not living paycheck to paycheck. You're right. So we'll talk about, the challenges that women face. And let's start by, number one, women on average earn less than men, 2, women are often caregivers. And 3, we generally live longer than men. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why each of these can make a difference in your financial planning, and we'll get into ways that we can overcome these challenges. So again, challenge number 1 is women often earn less than men, right? So according to the U.S. Census Bureau, about 18%. That's how much we make, in comparison to men. We make 18% less on average. It's hard and unfair to your truth that affects your current financial status. Things like what you can buy and how you pay off your bills, and your financial future too, right? Also, things like how you can save for that rainy day fund or how you could get to retirement are also included. All those goals you wrote down just a few moments ago are affected by how much you earn and how you may be earning only 82 cents on the dollar, compared to your male counterparts. The second one, women are often caregivers. Women are much more often the caregivers. You know this too. When someone is sick or injured, women are usually the first people who jump in to help, right? We're the moms, we're the spouses, we're eventually grandparents or whatever that may be. We give so much. In fact, according to the Institute on Aging, 75% of the time caregivers are women. That's a huge percentage, right? 3 out of 4 women are caregivers or end up becoming caregivers. That's a huge percentage. And there's an emotional impact to this role. It's stressful. It takes time and energy away from other things, especially when you consider that 55% of caregivers are providing more than 6 hours of care a day. 6 hours. And that goes on for an average of 10 years. That's a long time. Even if you're not caring for a sick relative right now, you may be noticing the emotional toll of caregiving. A study by Northwestern Mutual performed recently showed that women overall feel more concerned during the pandemic than men. The major contributing factor for the stress is concern for others. So I'll ask, has anybody felt that during this pandemic? Has anybody felt like, whether it's been somebody that's close to us being sick or friends, and we felt like we needed to be caregivers? Has anybody experienced that? And you can just give me a thumbs up. We don't have to chime in, but if you guys want to give me a thumbs up. Yeah. So I've heard this. We personally, my brother-in-law had COVID, and we were a little nervous the entire time. And of course, he took the necessary precautions, but I've known, and he's totally okay now. But I've heard that story go a little differently for others, people that have had to definitely take off time off work to help loved ones. So that's huge, and that does change things around, right? And when we're talking today with planning for future children, or even if we have somebody in our family that's also caring and or wanting to plan for future children, and they become in a financial strain, like what does that mean for us? Because like we said, right, we kind of jump in and we jump into action and we want to help out others. So there's also a financial impact to caregiving. And according to a recent Northwestern Mutual study, 58% of female caregivers reported that their careers were impacted by caregiving. And that makes sense when you think of the time and commitment and stress involved in being a caregiver. That same study showed that an average of 26% of caregivers' monthly budget goes towards caregiving. That's not a small amount. 26% is not a small amount. And it could put a strain on your immediate financial needs. It could also impact long-term goals. So think about it. If you're putting more money towards helping your loved ones, or if your career was impacted, you may not be sinking as much into your retirement savings as you'd want. That can be difficult to catch up on. Even Social Security benefits you're eligible for down the line can be impacted based on your earnings over time. And number 3, when we generally live longer. So although that's like a fun fact, and we like to kind of throw that in men's faces sometimes, you know, that's another big challenge we face, right? I want to talk about how, you know, women generally live longer. Most people want to live a longer life, you know, spending their retirement years doing the things that they love with the people they love. Since that's a good thing, why is it considered a challenge, right? So right now, women are living about 2 years longer than men. That might not seem like a lot, but since those are retirement years, which means the money you've saved for retirement needs to last longer. Because of those first 2 challenges we talked about, you may not have saved as much in the beginning. Add to the fact that healthcare is a big cost for most people in those years, right? We know that, you know, our parents or grandparents are definitely going to the doctors more often or needing more care in the healthcare space. Most people during those years, and women generally, pay more for healthcare than men. And you can see why living longer can be both a blessing and a challenge. But of course, you can overcome these challenges, right? I know it sounds like a lot, and it sounds a lot to overcome, but you can totally do it. You can get past these challenges. You can have financial security. It all starts with planning, which is what you ladies are on here to learn about today. You've already begun the journey. Remember a few minutes ago when I asked you guys to write down your goals? It's a very important step in any financial plan. We'll get to the other steps in a few minutes. But let's talk a little bit more about setting goals, because what you want to accomplish helps guide you in all the rest. Setting goals is all about knowing what you want. Pretty obvious, right? But it's most important to be specific when you're planning for your goals. Whatever you want to do, whether it's a financial goal or anything else, it's easier to figure out how to do it when you know exactly what you're looking for, right? It's kind of like, I guess the stuff that I hear pretty often from clients is like, I want to buy a home. Well, where are you buying that home, right? That does matter. And what are the property taxes like? And what does that look like for you financially? So stuff like that does matter. We need to know the details, and we need to know timelines. Timelines are a huge piece to that. But what if you make a list of the qualities you need in that property of that house, right? Research prices for that property in those areas that you like, look over your finances, figure out how much you need to save for the down payment, and decide what you need to buy or what you would want to buy in 3 years. You probably have a better shot at success, right? Why? Because you were specific. You know what you want, how long you have to get there, so that timeline that I was talking about, and what you need to accomplish to reach that goal. So we set actual, at least for me and my clients, we meet 6 months to a year. So, I'm asking, hey, what's going on with this? And let's go over this, right? We're auditing everything, and let's see how you're tracking so we can reach your goals. When you figure that out, it makes for a whole lot easier to plan for success. Now let's talk about risk management. It's a big part of financial planning, but what does it actually mean? Risk management is protecting the ability for you to reach these goals, right? We want to make sure that we get there. Even in the face of things that are beyond your control, things like being in an accident or getting an injury or an illness, or in worst case, passing away too. These aren't the kinds of things anyone likes to think about, but if you don't manage these risks, you could end up derailing other plans when something unexpected happens. And usually the first part of managing this risk is setting up that emergency fund that you ladies talked about. Life is unpredictable, right? Car repairs, medical bills. And when we're talking about, you know, the situation and what Michelle helps in, sometimes we're planning a family, right? And if we're in the hospital a little longer, or even just the right amount of time, those medical bills, even if you have health insurance, are pretty pricey. Or even losing a job, right? As simple as like you know, we saw COVID, a lot of layoffs, things are unexpected or they're out of our control. So any of these unexpected events can put a strain on your finances. A short-term safety net can go a long way in getting you past financial speed bumps. The general rule of thumb is to have and keep 6 months of living expenses in an account you can access easily. That cushion can help you avoid the added expense of paying for an emergency on a high interest credit card. So we're digging into credit cards, right? Because we have like no other way and we're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this bill? Let's put it on a credit card. You know, or we dip into retirement savings. I've heard of people, you know, pulling out of their 401ks too soon because of something that happened. If you don't have an emergency fund yet, start one. If you aren't moving to that 6 months of living expenses, work towards getting there. You know, a little bit of something is better than nothing. It really is. Next, let's tackle debt. Most people have some type of debt in their monthly budget, whether it's student loans, a mortgage, car payments, credit cards. Most debt includes interest. So having debts open up to you presents risk. And how to manage your debt. Start by setting personal deadlines to pay off your debt, especially with high interest credit cards. Develop a realistic budget and stick to it. Identify your essentials, right? Or your must-have expenses and your discretionary or nice-to-have expenses, right? Like maybe we don't have to Uber Eats all the time, right? I'm not the fun police, but maybe we don't have to, you know, I don't know, like what's new nowadays, I guess. Even getting your nails done, right? Like getting our nails done maybe every week, maybe we could do it every 2 weeks, right? We can do nice to have things a little bit less. But don't forget about the items that you may have to pay only once or twice a year, right? That also goes into your budget. Things like car registrations and membership dues from gyms, things like that. Subscriptions to like Netflix, Hulu, whatever. Have a budget that helps you understand what you have coming in and going out is a huge step toward your any financial goal. If you'd like, I can send you ladies a budget worksheet that we have, and it's pretty easy. I love that it's PDF and you could just jot in the numbers and it actually calculates it for you at the end. So you don't have to like take out a calculator or anything. And it has different spaces for things. So it's really, really nice. I mean, and of course, there's a lot of apps that help with budgeting, right? I think Mint is a big one. You know, use whatever is best for you guys. Next, think about living a cash-only lifestyle. It can be difficult, especially during the pandemic, but the more you can live on the money you have instead of credit cards and payment plans, the easier it is to stay out of debt down the line. So let me ask you a question. What do you think is your most valuable asset? And I'll have somebody answer this one, or at least write it in the chat. I'll look at the chat. What do you ladies think is your most valuable asset? It could be anything. So there's no right or wrong answer technically, but I want to see what you guys think is your most valuable asset. Okay, your home. Yep. Yeah, Michelle, that's it. You are your most valuable asset. You are the person bringing in that income. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I hear the home. I hear, you know, whatever it may be, but the home's a big one for sure. But definitely yourself, you're the person that's able to pay for that home, right? So people often say their home or their car or even their retirement fund. But when you think about it, none of those would be possible without income. That's why you're your most important asset. Your ability to earn income is the most important thing and your most important asset. My favorite analogy is if you had an ATM that spews out 100 grand a month, right? Let's just put a random number. If you had an ATM that you had that spews out 100 grand a month, wouldn't you protect that? Wouldn't you say that that's your biggest asset? That's usually you, right? You're the one spewing out all this cash every month. Protect yourself, for sure. So there are three main threats to that ability, and the most important thing is to protect against them. So the first threat is disability, and it's more common than you think. The reality is that 1/4 of all employees will be disabled for 3 or more months during their career. That doesn't sound right, does it? That's because most people think that something catastrophic, like a terrible accident, has to happen for you to be off work like that. But the reality is that a disability can happen for a lot of reasons. And accidents aren't the most common. Aren't the most common causes, sorry. Some of those major causes of disability are heart attacks, strokes, cancer, and back problems. And others that are unique to women, like pregnancy complications. Those are all relatively common occurrences. So does anyone have group disability insurance through an employer? This is pretty common to have, but I'll see if, what your responses are. We have a short group here, so we could totally do that. Okay. So group insurance is a great start, but it's not always enough, you know, and it is fairly common for an employer to provide that, but not all the time, as you can see from the chat, not all the time. Group insurance is a great way to start, but it's not always enough, right? You see most group insurance plans have a cap at 60%. So your employer, the insurance that your employer provides you, that disability insurance, the cap is about 60% for most. So, and because they're paid for by your employer, they're taxable too. So that 60% really ends up feeling like 50%. You could really be making less because of the gender pay gap, and this cap means that when you're on disability, you'd be taking further 40% pay cut. Your expenses probably won't go down when you're on disability. Think about how the way that you pay loss might affect how you live your life, as well as all the goals you're working towards. So I think most of my clients can agree that, you know, if they're out of work, let's say even 6 months, right? That's not a fairly long time, but we'll throw out 6 months. If they're out of work for 6 months and they're only getting 40% of their paycheck or even 50%, they'll start feeling those walls cave in on them pretty quickly. So one other thing to note is that an employer paid disability plan won't follow you if you leave your company, right? It's not portable. If you decide to switch jobs or become a business owner, that disability plan that your employer has for you, you can't take it with you. And this benefit may not be available at the next place of work, right? When you consider all of this, it makes sense to take out a supplemental disability policy. They're usually inexpensive and can help you fill that gap and protect your income. Think about it like this. We insure our cars, we insure our homes, we insure even our cell phones against unforeseeable events, right? Why shouldn't we protect our most valuable asset too? I'll stop right here for a second. I just kind of want to see if anybody had any questions before I move on. Nope. Okay. The next threat to our ability to earn an income is long-term care event. This gets to that second challenge we talked about, how women are also caregivers. Is anyone currently providing care to a loved one, or have you done it in the past? Yeah. Being a caregiver is common, but it's not always something you're expecting or something you you may feel you have a choice in. I'll give the example of my grandmother. So my grandmother came down with dementia and Alzheimer's when she was 70 years old, and it came out of nowhere. Trust me, I was 27 at the time, and just had my baby, and she had looked at me and she was just like, Nicole, don't you think you were a little too young to start having kids? I was like, what? I was like, I mean, I guess I am still young, right? And I was curious. I was like, well, how old do you think I am? And she's like, well, Nicole, you're not a day over 18, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really happening, right? Everything that my family is really talking about, and I was so in denial in, totally happens. It's a real thing. So how that affected my family, right? We're Puerto Rican, and, you know, coming from Hispanic roots, there's not tons of financial literacy in our space, right? So my grandmother never planned for retirement. My aunts, uncles, and my mom were, you know, her caregivers and the people that, you know, kind of helped her financially. And when things turned for her in that space, it has become this battle between the siblings, right? Who's going to pay for what and who's going to do what? And it's a shame, because as her granddaughter, it's you know, I'm just like, can you guys get it together? This is your mom, right? Stop fighting, just do it. But it is common. This is a very common thing to happen amongst families when this occurs with grandparents and parents, and even our spouses, right? That could also be a financial strain, and some also care for. So again, being a caregiver is common, and it's not always something that you're expecting or something you may feel like you have a choice on. To help get in front of the possibility of being a caregiver, start by talking to your parents. I can't stress this part enough. Talk to them. I know it's a weird and uncomfortable thing, you know, but talk to them and ask them about their plans, and maybe if they've put something in place, or how you guys can start putting things in place. Sorry, my dog. Again, these can be very difficult conversations and sensitive conversations, but they're so important. And here are some questions to kind of guide the discussion. What are the names to their accounts, and if they have joint accounts? And if so, whose name are those accounts in, right? We're talking to both parents. Are you and your siblings listed as signers on their bank accounts? Are beneficiaries current on their insurance policies and other assets? Because, you know, let's say mom, right, put a sister down as a beneficiary, and that sister is no longer around. So we need to make sure that that's up to date, and that if she has a policy, that it's going to go to somebody. And what should happen to their home if they're no longer able to care for it? My mom has some words on that one. She doesn't want us to sell her house, but I'm like, who's gonna live there, right? Some options include transferring it to a family member, right? Or putting it in a trust to help protect it in their finances. Have they planned for long-term care? You know, some people have. Some people have kind of done that in their earlier years and planned for long-term care. And if so, what financial plans are in place? Do they have long-term care insurance? If not, should the family consider paying for long-term care insurance for them? So don't forget, while parents are most likely candidates to need your help, if you have aunts, uncles, siblings, or anyone else who may need your help someday, it's sometimes not a bad idea to bring this conversation up with them as well. And of course, this goes for our own planning as well. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, if you live past 65, there's a 70% chance that you'll need long-term care, right? I mean, that's kind of like a given. That we'll eventually get to the point where we're going to need long-term care. The last threat to your ability to earn an income is, of course, death, which is why a lot of people have life insurance, right? They want to protect the financial welfare of those who depend on them, especially if the worst happens and they pass away too soon. You know, in talking about kids, I mean, I think Getting closer to 30 and knowing that I was having a daughter right around the corner was I need to get life insurance, right? I sometimes wish I did it a little sooner, not gonna lie. Now that I'm in the space and I see the way it works, sometimes I wish I did it a little sooner. To help figure out what type of life insurance you might need and how much, think about what expenses you want to be covered if you weren't there to be with your loved ones anymore. Is there a mortgage or debt to pay? Are there significant costs you'd want to help cover for anyone in your family? Child's wedding someday or helping them buy a home someday? Are there family members, siblings, parents, or anyone else who might need your financial support in the future, right? We see this a lot with my clients that have children with special needs, right? We have to kind of bulk up a little bit more than most families because of the fact of what we need to kind of see in the future, right? They're going to need more. And finally, do you want to leave a financial legacy? Most people think about this as leaving money to grandkids or kids. And of course, life insurance can also be used in that way. But it could also mean a gift to your alma mater or a nonprofit that you feel passionate about, right? We can also do that. So thinking about questions like these can help you determine how life insurance may fit into your financial plan. Those are the main elements of covering risk: protecting yourself from unpredictable circumstances that can impact your ability to reach your goals. So what questions can I answer right now about risk for you guys?
Nicole, well, thank you. But two things that came to mind that I know those who are interested wanted to know is sort of any tips about how to grow an emergency fund. And then you talked about the supplemental disability insurance, and like, where do you start with that? Like, who do you contact? How does that work?
Yeah, so I am the resource for those things. So I could definitely sit with you guys one-on-one to kind of discuss it further, but good tips, like just general broad good tips on emergency fund is sometimes treating whatever that number it is that you figure out is like the number that you can put towards savings, have it almost be like a bill, right? Have it be like something that you pay first along with your bills, and then any money that you have left over is for your discretionary spending. So pay your savings first along with your other bills. So look at it as like another bill. And if you can have it be like, taken out automatically from your account, that's a great way to start really boosting up your savings. And it's almost like a out of sight, out of mind situation. And some people, even from their direct deposit, will take a percentage and just make it go over to a savings account as well. So those are really good ways to start really boosting up your emergency fund. And if you guys would like to talk to me one-on-one and we can kind of look at your budget sheet together once you guys finish, then I'm happy to do that. And no obligations, and we don't have to go through any of the insurance things. If you guys aren't even interested, that's fine. I'm happy to help, just if it's on the emergency fund level. I'm happy to do that with you ladies. Any other questions before I move on? All right. So managing risk is about covering yourself and the people that you love. The second strategy, which of course is the one that people get the most excited about, is where we're going to talk about growing your wealth and how to help you have the future that you want, right? To make sure that Jackie can get to Ireland and live the life that she wants. So growing your wealth means different things to different people, right? But the goal here is to make the most of your money by making the investment decisions that are going to be right for you. So that's why, Michelle, thank you for your questions. And that's why I tend to be broad, right? Because if I say a direct answer, that might not be the same answer that I would give from Michelle to Esmeralda to Jackie. Things might be different. Our financial houses look a little different, right? So same thing with investing. It has to be right for you and what you want to do and what your situation is currently. Choosing how to invest can have a huge impact on your ability to achieve your goals, particularly long-term goals. So let's talk about a couple common long-term saving goals. So probably the most common of these goals is retirement, right? Everybody I think brought that up, that their long-term goal is retirement. So most people are looking forward to a time when they can leave working world behind and travel or spend more time with people that they love. Saving for retirement today is very different than it was for your grandparents or even your parents. Every year there are fewer pensions. Not so many companies have those anymore or offer those. So it's up to you guys now to really create your retirement savings plan. Remember those challenges we talked about earlier? They can have an impact on your overall saving for your retirement. Women are living longer than men, right? And often less opportunities to save because of the wage gaps in caregiving. This means that how we get to our retirement and how we save for our retirement is more important for you. Your money needs to last through your whole retirement, which could be more than 30 years, right? Some people retire early, right? Like Jackie wants to retire early. So if we do that, then we have to make up for all those years that we're going to be living off of our retirement savings. Some of the most common ways to save for your retirement are through your employer's 401k and an IRA. But there are other investment vehicles available too. If you're planning for retirement, make sure you look at all your options so you can pick what's right for you. I can't stress that enough. I've seen plenty of retirement accounts and their asset allocation just not be right for what the goal is for that individual. So just make sure that you're picking what's right for you. And then here's another one. So helping kids get through college without a lot of debt is a common savings goal too, right? If this is something you want to do, it's good to know where the costs stand, right? The latest stats of the College Board show that tuition fees, room and board at an in-state school average about almost $22,000 per year. Private nonprofit schools can cost even more, and all these costs are trending upward, right? We're all going up. Some of the most common ways to save for college are with Coverdell education accounts and 529 plans, but there are other ways too. No matter what the saving methods you choose, if this is a goal of yours, it's good to start saving as soon as you can. One question I get a lot is which money should you be putting towards, right? A college fund or your retirement savings? Which one do we put money in? If you have to prioritize these two savings, put the money in your retirement account. They might sound selfish, but it's not. As important as school is, there are other ways to pay for it. Grants, scholarships, loans. There is no other way to fund your retirement. If you sacrifice saving for your retirement, you can end up having to work longer, right? We've seen, I would say, older senior citizens working at, Walgreens or CVS. I've seen them at the grocery stores, right? Or scaling back your retirement plans, right? Like now we have to retire a little later, or not getting the house on the lake that we wanted, or whatever it may be. Now we're scaling back on those things. Or even worse, having your kids rely or having to rely on your kids for retirement. Again, in kind of the Hispanic world that I'm in, I have heard so many times, I am my parents' 401k plan. And that's a huge burden, right? Because they're planning for their own retirement and they have their own kids. So let's make sure that we're doing what we can now so that that's not a situation down the road as well. That's not something you want for you and your kids. No matter what the goals you're saving for, the challenge is to invest the money in a way that gives you the greatest chance for achieving your goals. So how do you do that? Start by asking yourself these questions. First, how much risk are you willing to take with your money? Will it bother you if a lot of your balances go up and down on the market if it fluctuates a lot? Are you okay with investing in riskier assets if there's a chance for higher returns, right? This is called your risk tolerance. Then think about how long your money will be likely invested for before you need to start using it. If you're saving for retirement, are you planning to retire in 5 years or 30? This is called your investment time horizon. And it could be a huge factor in how you invest. Once you start taking money from those accounts, how long will you be making withdrawals, right? If it's a college savings account, you'll be withdrawing for just a few years. If it's a retirement account, it could be decades, right? Like we said, about 30 years or more, depending on when you retire. This is called your withdrawal time frame. What type of accounts are your investments in now? Qualified plans are tax deferred, which means you'll pay for those taxes when you withdraw. Non-qualified accounts like your 401k or traditional IRAs means that you or your employer are paying the taxes up front. Finally, make sure that you think about how these taxes are going to affect you in your plans now and later down the road, particularly with retirement planning. You'll need to consider the best ways to grow your funds for retirement and how you'll draw from those income sources during retirement, so you can minimize taxes and maximize your income. Has anyone ever heard of asset allocation? You can do the thumbs up for this one. So basically the types of assets you can invest in are broken into general categories or classes: bonds, stocks, and cash. Historically, each of these asset classes has responded differently to what's happening with the economy and market. Sometimes stocks returns are up while bond returns are down, and vice versa. But if your portfolio includes a variety of asset classes, right, the offsetting movements can help reduce the overall risk in your portfolio. So splitting up your portfolio between different types of asset classes is called diversification. How you diversify, whether you have more money in stocks than in bonds or cash, or any other way you can split it, it's called your asset allocation. And your personal allocation depends on all those factors we just talked about. How much risk are you willing to take? How long you have until you need to start using those investments and more. Every investor has to weigh these factors and choose how to split these assets so that they can reach their best shots of getting their goals. There's one more concept I'd like to talk about a little bit when it comes to investing, is the power of compounding. And it gets to the heart of why it's important to start investing as soon as you can, especially considering how all those challenges we've been talking about can affect your long-term goals. Compounding is when asset earnings are reinvested into the portfolio, and it can make a big difference over time. In this chart, we've got 3 hypothetical people who each invest $6,000, right? Annabeth and Christina. So they invest $6,000 a year in the stock market. They all get a 6% rate of return through their investment, and they all reinvest the income from those stocks to take advantage of compounding. You'll notice that how much the investors have by age 65 is very different. That's because when they started investing, made a huge difference in how it compounded over time. And there are, you can go, like, I think it's through Mint, if I'm not mistaken. But there is a compounding interest calculator out there that really kind of breaks this down for you. And it's fun to see. It's like what if I start today versus if I start even like a year from now? It's a huge difference in how much you can really be losing out. So again, so Anna is that yellow line. She started investing at age 25 and kept that investment up until she was 65, which gave her a full 40 years of investing and compounding, right? So she has about $1 million in there. Beth is that blue line. Also started investing at 25, but she stopped entirely at age 40. So she stopped putting into it at age 40. That means she invested for only 15 years, but it kept compounding for about another 25. Christina is the gray line, and she waited to start investing until she was 40 years old. But then she kept going all the way to 65. That's a full 25 years of investing and a total of $60,000 more invested than Beth. But if you look at where they ended up, Beth had over $300,000 more than Christina. And why is that? Because starting earlier allowed interest to compound over time, even after she stopped making contributions. So that's huge. Remember though, that this is an example and doesn't represent any specific investment or fund. When you're investing, there's no risk and there's always risk and no guarantees. But starting early matters, for sure. Starting early matters. Even if it's only a small amount, the power of compounding means that it can make a big difference in your long-term goals. The third building block in a good financial plan is how you preserve the wealth you've built and use it during retirement, right? When we actually distribute that and pull out of that retirement fund, right? As well, and using it during your retirement, as well as what you want to happen to it when you pass away. Since women generally live longer than men, this step can be very important to them. When you're thinking about retirement, you'll want to understand how the common retirement saving vehicles work. Annuities, investments, IRAs, and Roth IRAs all have different benefits and tax implications in retirement. How you pull from them makes a big difference in how long that money lasts when you start using it. You'll notice that life insurance is listed as a retirement asset on this graph. We talked about it earlier and how it can protect you and your family, but some types of life insurance can also come handy during retirement. Policies that build up cash value can help supplement retirement income and of course can help fund your legacy. It's important to note that you may not need all of the assets listed on this graph. Most people don't have all of them. What matters is that the assets included in your retirement plan meet your goals for saving and for getting through retirement. We have some sophisticated tools these days that can test your plan against thousands of different scenarios to create up to a 90% probability that your retirement income will last as long as you need it to. So we can, here at Northwestern Mutual, we can literally plug in all your numbers and everything that you guys already have set in place, and we could see how you're going to aim towards retirement and how long that money is really going to last you, which is pretty cool. Tests like these can help you be more confident that the plan you create in the future is the right one. Another big part of wealth preservation and distribution is estate planning, right? Estate plans have an interesting reputation. A lot of people think that only the rich or famous need them. That couldn't be further away from the truth. You see, it's true that estate planning is partly about money, but it's also about a lot more than that. When you get to the heart of it, it's about making sure that if anything happens to you, your wishes are carried out. An estate plan gives you a voice when you no longer can speak for yourself. Let's talk about the basics. First of all, never too early to start this kind of planning. If you haven't done so already, establish powers of attorney for healthcare and finances and get a healthcare directive in place. This is important for all legal adults. If you're single and you don't have them yet, no one has a legal right to know your medical status, even if you're in an accident. Because of HIPAA laws, your parents or siblings may need to take legal action to get information about you, make medical decisions for you, or take care of your finances. The same if you have kids who are 18 and older. If something happens to them, even as their parent, you have no legal rights until the courts get involved. It's kind of scary to think of that. Those simple legal documents can make sure that the people you choose to have access to your medical records and financial information can make decisions for you if necessary. If you get married, make sure you update those powers of attorney and any beneficiaries that might be listed on life insurance and investment accounts. By this time, you're also probably starting to own more things. So it's time to start thinking about a will and a trust, or a trust for any of the assets that aren't covered by beneficiaries. This includes things like larger items like cars, homes, but it also covers your savings account and some personal items that might have sentimental or financial value, even like your wedding rings. If leaving a legacy is important to you, think about how you want to do that too. Anything you want to leave to your family or your alma mater or your nonprofit you care about should be incorporated into your estate plan. If you decide to grow your family, it's time to appoint a legal guardian should anything ever happen to you. You need to have this legally documented in your will. Most states won't accept anything else, and your children's future isn't something you want to take a chance with, right? Your estate plan, your financial plan should be complementary documents and should be revisited and updated as your life changes. Divorce, remarriage, job changes, kids, even just getting older can change your perspective on all of this and affect what you want documented in both plans. I can't stress enough how important an estate plan is. It helps make sure that your wishes are honored if you can't speak for yourself. And it also eliminates some friction that can happen when assets are being distributed, right? This kind of planning can go a long way maintaining family harmony. Are there any questions on wealth preservation and distribution before I move on? Well, we've covered a lot of ground, so let's recap some of the financial planning concepts. So risk management is about protecting you and your family from unforeseeable events. Growing your wealth is about saving and investing to help you reach your goals in the future. And wealth preservation and distribution helps cover how you spend your money during retirement and what makes and make sure that your wishes are honored. By addressing these three key topics, you'll be well on your way to creating a lifetime of financial security. So what now? This is a lot of information today, right? It's almost an hour long here, and it's a lot of information. I know it sometimes can be daunting. My advice is to find a financial professional that can help you along your journey and your financial security. I know I'm a financial representative, so of course I'd say that. And yes, I'd love to work with all of you, but you don't have to come work with me. Who you choose to trust with your financial planning is very personal. They need to be the right person for you, right? Because like I told you, I do ask my clients like, hey, like, let me see your wedding dress. It becomes really personal. I get to know my clients really, really closely. And it is important that you like whoever it is that you work with. Your financial plan is important, and you owe it to yourself to find someone whose job is to understand the nuances of planning, investments, and all the different products out there to help you make the right decisions for yourself. This is about giving you the best possible shot at success for your financial future. Here are a couple tips to help you find someone to work with. First, people often confuse financial planning with investing. They are related, but not the same. An investment advisor specializes in managing your investable assets for you. A financial professional will take a look across your whole financial life, savings, managing debt and risk, investments, taxes, and estate planning, and develop a plan to help you reach all your financial goals so that you can feel secure in your future. A financial professional will also be there to guide you through times of transitions in your life, because when your life changes, your plan should change with it. You should also make sure that your financial professional has the right priorities. This person work with who to create a long-term plan that focuses on your goals. That word with is important because this is a partnership. Like I said, I'm really close with my clients. You know, we get to the point sometimes with my clients where I'm comfortable texting them, you know, and like saying like, hey, I thought about you with this, you know, become very close. You're working together to plan for your financial future. So, so make sure this person also help you turn your plan into action, right? So that you can get on track for your goals. Be ready to discuss big financial decisions with you. It's easy to set a financial plan back with buying a spontaneous decision like buying a new car that wasn't budgeted for. But opportunities like those come up, and it's helpful to talk to a financial professional before you decide whether to move ahead. You'll also feel better about making those choices if you know that the decisions you're making won't put your goals at financial risk. I've mentioned a few times that your plan should be updated throughout your life because your priorities will change, right? A good financial professional understands this, will meet with you regularly to make sure you're on track to meet your goals, and will help you adjust your plan whenever needed. My third tip is to do your homework. Ask people you trust, family, you know, friends, colleagues, for recommendations, and schedule a meeting with anyone who sounds like a match for what you want. A few words of caution as you're looking for someone to work with. Beware of anyone who tries to sell you a product at your first meeting. This person should be more interested in getting to know you, your goals, and what you want for your money to do for you than to just try to sell you something. Also be careful with someone with an off-the-shelf planning solution. You are unique. Your circumstances are unique. It doesn't make sense that you'd have the same plan as somebody else, like we kind of talked about, right? That's why any questions that you guys might have, I'm happy to answer them, but they tend to be broad for a reason, right? Because we're not all the same. Our financial houses don't all look the same. So your plan should be tailored to you and who you are and what you want out of life. Last tip isn't specifically about how to choose a financial professional, but it is taking the time to do this for yourself. As women, the tendency is to put everything, everything to the side and everyone else first. It's easy to focus on the needs of others so much that we don't take care of ourselves. And everything we've talked about today is taking care of ourselves financially. When life gets in the way, as often as it does, this may feel like something you can put off for a little while, right? We know that. It's so easy to just not think about these things and day in. My mom is a very good example of that, right? I speak on my family because it's personal. This is truth. So when I got into this career, I asked my mom, like, hey, mom, like, what's going on with your 401k, right? She's like, Nicole, I never did that. I'm like, what do you mean you never did that? And she's like, no, Nicole, I had to raise, she's a single mom. So she's like, no, Nicole, I had to raise you and your brother. And all I knew is that we needed food on the table and I needed to pay the mortgage. And I never thought of anything else, right? She was living on that day to day because she put us first. So taking care of your own finances is taking care of other people. So I would say that now, because I am now my mom's 401k, right? It is, she could have done things a little bit wiser in her earlier years And this is what I always say. I wish now in the position that I am now, that I am meeting my mom at 30 years old, you know, before she just didn't know. She didn't know what she didn't know. And I'm not blaming her, right? So just if I can meet, you know, women in that stage earlier on before they reach my mom's age now, I feel like I did a huge service to her and to her children and grandchildren, right? It all trickles down. So even if no one is financially dependent on you, having your financial plan in order can offer you peace of mind. When that stress is lessened, you feel secure with your financial situation. You can spend more quality time and energy on people and things that you love. Self-care, which we hear so much about these days, applies to your finances too. We've started your journey by making some time here today to expand your knowledge. Don't lose that momentum, right? I'd like you to write down one small step that you can take in the next 24 hours to make progress towards your goals. It could be anything, asking a friend who she works with on her finances, or reviewing your 401k distributions or contributions, I'm sorry. Starting a budget, right? Or just, you know, setting some goals. Anything that helps you move forward. So that's kind of like your homework for after this, guys. Any questions? I mean, we've covered the challenges that women face today and all that, the basic financial strategies that we can that can help you overcome some challenges. But I would love to answer some questions if there are any. We'll take the time to do that now.
Nicole, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
This might be like kind of an old school thing. I am a little old school, but what are your thoughts on a CD as a means to save? I mean, that was like kind of the buzz thing 20 years ago, but are you for it?
What are you using it for? Like, what's your ultimate goal with that CD? If you don't mind me asking.
You know, I know it gets locked away, but you know, if the rates are good, it tends to be a way to kind of out of sight, out of mind type of thing. You know, nothing in particular, but you know, it had worked in the past. So
yeah, so I would say that a CD, kind of like also with like your savings or anything you have in cash, because it's just not growing at a really great rate. I would say that that's a good place for anything that you're thinking in like the 1 to 3 year mark to use that money for. If it's something long-term, then we want to do something that has a higher interest rate attached to it. Like, you know, maybe putting it into your retirement account where it's going to do a little bit more in the marketplace, or investing it. So using other vehicles that'll kind of make that money do a little bit more for itself than what current CDs are doing now. So not a bad place to have it, but I would say that that's definitely like a place for if you're needing, you know, cash for 1 to 2, 3 years down the road.
thank you.
Nicole, I know that you mentioned that the supplemental disability insurance is typically sometimes provided by the employer. Is there any other way to get it, or is it just strictly employer provided?
No, that's you know, going back to like kind of what Michelle asked. So that is something that I do offer, so I can help you implement a portable supplemental disability for yourself, and we can talk about that offline if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, awesome. If you can, I'm sure maybe another or some of other us might want to contact you. So if you can share your contact info, that'd be super awesome.
Yeah, I think, Michelle, did you get emails for today? If not, then maybe we'll just have them put it in the chat and I can send them the budget sheet. And if they're interested in scheduling something with me, I can send them a link too.
So I do have emails and I can provide those to Nicole if everyone is okay with that. So let me know if you're not. And then Nicole can send out those things as well.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anyone else or any other questions?
I just want to say thank you, Nicole. This was great.
No, thank you guys. This is awesome. I love doing these, by the way. Like, these are one of my favorite things to do. I have like another one scheduled next month for it's called Get Your Mind Right. It's part of Healthy Hood Chicago, guys. So if anybody knows about Healthy Hood Chicago. It's out in Pilsen, and they do awesome things for the community. So I'll be doing one for them as well. So that'll be exciting. So any opportunity that you guys have for me to do this, like totally hit me up. I'm happy to do this for, you know, like a group of friends or whoever. I love doing these things, and there's no charge. I love doing this just because I like getting the knowledge out there. So let me know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, and then Nicole, I will send you everyone's emails and
Cool.
you can send that. And if for some reason something falls through the cracks, you can always contact me as well and I can kind of
Awesome.
route you guys or anything.
Yeah, no problem. Wonderful.
Great.
So Michelle, I don't know if you had anything else, but I know that we kind of it was like a little over an hour, and I want to be mindful of everybody else's time here
Right.
today too. I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody wants to get to dinner.
Yeah. So I will just say, everyone, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
We
thank
really
you.
appreciate it. And really want to provide these. I always end these saying, if there is any topic either you want to learn more about that kind of relates to general parenting, health, all of those kinds of things, please let me know. And even more importantly, if you or someone you know could present on something, send them my way. So whether that's you're volunteering yourself or you're volunteering somebody else, I'll take it either way. And that would be great. So
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle and Nicole, for doing this, and also for the work you do, and for also sharing your stories and getting personal with us.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that.
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, take care. Thank you so much. Have a good
Yeah,
night.
have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.